Welcome to No Borders with Brian and Carrie. Today what we are discussing are 11 ways that you can stay safe while you are traveling full-time. And honestly, probably traveling just in general.
Traveling in general, you know, I'd say the first thing you need to do before you do anything else is just research where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
That's half the fun anyway, is researching where you're going, but just take a little bit extra time and kind of look into those small details of any concerns, anything that might be going on in that area.
Right. And I mean, we spend quite a bit of time looking at, you know, any travel advisories that are in place, anything to, you know, there's always, I know in the United States they rate it like a level, right? We can't necessarily say you go 100% behind these levels because there's times people are like, oh, that's a level 2. Well, pretty much everywhere in the world is level 2. Yes. So you would not be leaving to go anywhere if you were going by that. But, you know, look for any of those big concerns, anything that's changed recently. You know, if a place has been listed, say at a level 3, but it's been level 3 for a really long time, we also will look at why is it a level 3. You know, it might be just don't go near a specific border. So we kind of, we face that a little bit in Turkey.
In Turkey, yeah. Don't go east. Stay away from the Syrian border. Sure, that makes sense. Some of it's common sense, but other times, you know, we're going to Mexico this fall, so this is something that we'll look into. What regions in Mexico are considered safer than the others, and that's something that we'll research a lot. Yeah,
and it's not even just looking to see what it's rated. So as an example, when I went to Mazatlan with a friend a long time ago, I remember looking, I didn't look at the travel advisories, I was very new to travel, and it wasn't until I got home. And then I saw something about a travel advisory, and it said don't leave the general town area and always make sure that you're within cell service area. And we had decided to go on a zip lining excursion. We certainly didn't have cell service where we were at, and we were in a pretty isolated area. So, you know, in hindsight, that wasn't the smartest move. So we look a lot more now into the area, also the area we're staying, the neighborhood, and
we zero in on the area, and you can get online and find these websites. We'll leave a link below to what we use on if you're watching on YouTube, that is. On exactly how we do that, because it is important what neighborhoods are safe and what aren't safe. We look at that stuff, and you know, it is important. A lot of it's common sense, though. Like the fact that you and your friend went zip-lining in Mexico, there was probably no regulations. There was probably no rules. You probably didn't have a helmet on.
We actually did.
You had a helmet.
We did have a helmet. It was actually very safe. I mean, as much as I can say. It was a lot of fun, but in hindsight, I should have done a lot more research on that. The other area you want to look into as well is any laws, like any specific laws for the area you're traveling to, as well as like certain customs. You know, we've traveled to certain places where, for instance, you know, a woman's head needs to be covered in certain locations, or your shoulders need to be covered. You know, we've run into that a lot, like knees needing to be covered and shoulders needing to be covered, especially when going to a religious site. Yeah,
you know, some of those things that you just don't think about, you know, because you're just not used to doing it, especially if you haven't traveled. So if you're going to some of those areas, kind of think about them ahead of time.
Right. And you know, and it goes for anything as far as like there's certain places that we have traveled to that any kind of public display of affection is not allowed. These are not things you would ever, or we would have never thought about.
Yeah, there's been plenty of times where I've said, Carrie, knock it off. Stop. Stop with the public display of affection. It's annoying.
But you want to definitely look into that. You know, there are specific customs of not just attire, but you know, is alcohol permitted to be? Can you walk around with alcohol? Do you have to have it, you know, in a container? Do you have to have it just at an establishment? We're kind of used to that back in the States. The walking around with alcohol for us, especially where we're from, we don't get to do that. But now, majority of places we've been, you could freely do that. But that is something, you know, nobody wants to land themselves in jail on a vacation or traveling. So be sure and check those rules and regulations. Now, number 2 is be sure and just secure your belongings. You know, your money, your passport, everything that is kind of, you would not want to come back one day and see it gone from your hotel. You know, make sure that maybe you have luggage, that ours have locks on them. You can purchase locks to just kind of secure those things up. Or if you're staying in a hotel, they have a safe.
Yeah, you know, all these little things. Again, a lot of them are common sense, but sometimes you just don't think about it. We do have locks on our luggage. With a backpack, I don't have a lock on my backpack, but I'm aware that I don't have a lock on my backpack when I'm in a crowded train station or bus station. I'll either flip around or I'll just carry it in the front of me. I know who's behind me. I know I'm just aware of what's going on. And that's the key. Just think the worst might happen.
Right. I think that is kind of really key, is that you just always want to just be cautious wherever you are. You hate to do that. I mean, you would always like to just think that everybody is good-willed and not going to do that. But, we walk into a crowded situation. I don't care what country we're in. We can be home. And
Right.
you don't wear your fanny pack onto the backside area.
Right.
I don't wear my purse. Like, I'll pull my purse up to the front and I have my hand on it. Just make sure, and once again, have all those zippers zipped. So that it's maybe not the easiest access if they were to get into your stuff. So yeah, I do think it's just kind of be mindful, be aware, and use your head with those.
Yeah, they also have money belts that you can put underneath your trousers or your skirt or whatever. They've got things that you can do to kind of conceal your belongings when you're out and about as well.
Yeah.
So I don't have one. To me, they seem kind of uncomfortable, but if safety is a concern of yours, it might be something to invest in.
Yeah, and we are looking at going to certain places that, where they say don't take any valuables outside with you, so obviously you still need to take your key. You probably need to have just a tiny bit of cash and maybe
Right.
a credit card. So that's where the comfort over safety would just be a choice. But, I think that there are places where you're going to leave majority of your things home and you're going to want to really just keep it, I don't know.
To a minimum. We do that anyway, really.
But we've even had people tell us for certain places that we are going to be traveling to, do your best to just kind of appear as a local. Don't dress a certain way. Don't dress up, not like we ever really do, but they said keep even any jewelry to a very minimum if you're wearing anything. Just try not to stand out.
Just don't stand out.
Yeah. So that's probably just another just be careful thing.
Okay, I think another one that's very important is just stay connected. Allow people to know where you're at, what you're doing. You've got your cell phone. You've probably got service. Between the two of us, one of us has service. And so people can get a hold of us whenever they need to. We can make that emergency phone call if we need to. Make sure your family and friends know what country you're in, what city you're in, even what Airbnb or accommodations you might be in.
Right, and so the Airbnb, I know I connect my mom onto our reservation, and then that way if there is anything that happens, because there can be unexpected events that happen wherever you're traveling, they wouldn't even know where to start as far as trying to contact or look for you. But if you are staying in a hotel or you're staying in an Airbnb, make sure and just put that information. You can just include somebody or send the reservation to them. They would know where to, I guess, just begin looking.
They'd know where to look, yeah.
Yeah. Number 4 is trust your instincts. This is really just that big one. All of us have that gut instinct, There's those times that you're walking down that street, or it doesn't have to be the back alley like they always say, but you're just in a location where it just doesn't feel right. I know I've been in places like that where it just doesn't feel right. Turn around and leave, just trust that feeling, because it has never really stirred me wrong.
Well, yesterday I went for a long walk. Carrie decided to take a nap. I decided to take a long walk.
I needed a self-care day.
I was walking down the street. I'm about an hour and a half in. Legs are starting to feel heavy. And I got somebody walking right behind me. I'm like, this is a large sidewalk and there's a lot of room. Why is this person right on my tail? And so I crossed the street. And then I looked over to see who this potential criminal might be. And I think she might have been 15, 5'2".
She was just walking faster
She
than
was
you.
just she was keeping pace with me the whole
okay.
time. So I don't know what her deal
Probably
was.
not much of a threat.
But not much of a threat. But I was aware of it.
Yeah.
I knew somebody was on I think it was my left shoulder, about 3 strides back, and why, I don't know. But eventually I lost her.
You lost
Yeah, I
her.
lost her.
It was a tough lose.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and we've all had those situations, because I know I'll have those too, where you'll just be walking down, say we were just in town recently, and somebody comes out and just kind of cuts out into the area where we are walking, and then is, like you said, kind of uncomfortably close behind you and seems to be following pace with you. And it didn't feel like there was good reason for that movement.
Right.
And, I will then just do like you did, and I veer veer completely the other direction, off to the side or whatever. And, you kind of want to see what they do. And even if their intention was bad, at that point, you probably already thrown them off course.
You shook them.
I shook them.
Yeah.
They're not coming back. Yeah. So I think it's a pretty easy. Just kind of trust those gut instincts because it knows.
Exactly. Trust the gut instinct, and
maybe
some
a
of this
15-year-old behind you
may seem like common sense, but if you're not aware of it, if you've never been in a situation where you needed to have that common sense, you never know what can happen.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Number 5, be prepared for what could happen because you never know. Make sure you have those emergency numbers. Make sure you know where there's a walk-in clinic or a hospital. All of those things you don't want to try and figure out when you're laying in the middle of the street somewhere with a rolled up ankle or something.
Right. You kind of want to have some idea how you're going to get where you're going to go if you need that to be the case. The other thing that you want to do is have some copies. We don't carry our passport with us all the time. We do in certain countries. Certain countries it's a little bit more, I wouldn't necessarily say required, but the likelihood of maybe getting stopped is a little more likely in certain areas.
Right.
And the other areas we just put in a safe or in a locked location. But you can always carry a copy. So like on my phone, I do have copies of our passport. I don't have a physical printed copy of it. But, I think first off, it's not typically accepted, but I think in worst case scenario, if you needed to prove your identity just for the moment, it's going to be better than not having anything.
Right.
And then also just make sure that you send some of those copies and have them with your family members too. I know that my parents have a copy of my passport. I've emailed even myself a copy of my passport because that way I know if I needed to access if it was lost and stuff. So those copies of those things I think are very important.
I should probably do that. That's a good idea. Yeah, I don't do that, but I probably should. Lesson learned. This video did me good.
He's learned something.
That's great.
When we go home next time, we're going to take care of that.
Yes.
Now the next one is staying healthy, and this doesn't necessarily mean just stay healthy. We all want to do that. But you do want to make sure before you are going to a place you want to stay healthy while you're there. So check any concerns that there might be for the food that you're going to be consuming, any concerns for the water. We've traveled to a lot of places where you could not drink the water at all, but we have yet to travel to a place that we couldn't necessarily brush our teeth with the water. We will be going to places like that. So you do want to kind of just do that research ahead of time that you're not going to be getting sick while you're there.
Right. That brings us right into getting vaccinated. If you need to get vaccinations for typhoid or hepatitis or anything like that, go to your pharmacy and ask them, tell them where you're going and ask them what you need. They'll tell you, they'll let you know, and you're probably going to need 2 or 3 shots at the minimum. And get that shingles shot too while you're there because that's an important one.
That's an important one at our age. Yeah,
Yes.
we definitely did that. Yeah, and we did before we went to Thailand, and we ended up not having any problems, and who knows, knock on wood somewhere. We did not have problems and get sick there, and we did go with the recommendations of the pharmacist of which shots that we needed to get to avoid some of those foodborne illnesses and such. So, I think that's just one of those important things because if you don't do that, it is another step, it is another expense. But if you don't do it, you are going to be pretty miserable on your vacation or your trip.
Yeah, I'd rather be miserable for a day with a jab in my arm than 3 or 4 days on my vacation, that's for sure. Okay, number 7, have a backup plan. Know where you need to be if anything goes awry. If you're in a city or a place where something happens and you need to get to an airport or a train station or bus station, know where those things are at and know how you're going to get there ahead of time. We do. We don't like going to places where the airport's 4 hours away.
Yeah.
We like to be in places where the airport is close by, within 30 minutes. We know we can jump in a cab. We know we can jump on a bus. We know we can get out if we need to.
Right, and we've been in places before where, we're a good 4-hour bus ride, and actually those buses took about 6 hours, and they weren't reliable to get to an airport. And after that month-long stay, we found, especially me, I just felt that was too uncomfortable for me. If there was a situation we needed to leave, not necessarily even because something going wrong there, but with a family member or something you need to get home.
Exactly, you need to get somewhere.
Yeah, I didn't like that. But we definitely figure out, if we don't fly into a place, we do know where the airport is. We know how we're going to get there, and just kind of I don't know. We just kind of have that all just kind of figured out ahead. So
we have it figured out ahead of time. We
Yeah.
also have emergency funds, you know, because that plane flight, the unexpected, is going to cost you money. So that's something else that I'm going to add on top of that, is to make sure you have the emergency funds that you need to get out.
Yeah, I think that having all of those things lined up ahead of time, knowing what your kind of an idea of a plan of action, where you're going to be able to go, how you're going to access that, and then having the funds available, because if you didn't have those funds available, that's going to be an incredibly uncomfortable experience, or I mean, scary, really, you know, because if you're in a very scary situation, something actually does happen, and you need to get to an airport and buy that emergency plane ticket, and you say don't have a credit card with enough balance left, or you don't have an account with that cash in it, boy, I wouldn't want to be in that situation. So yeah, you want to make sure you have that all lined up ahead of time. The other suggestion I would make is make sure that you have some important contacts available, their information and contact information, basically, you know, not necessarily the hospital and stuff, say a family member, friends. We all have that information stored in our phones, but what if you were to lose your phone? Where are you going to go for that information? Right. So I think having another way that you can have that, even if you just have just a note card where you have some numbers written down that you keep either in your suitcase or you keep on you personally, you know, I mean, it's kind of sad to say how many numbers I can remember. I mean, I can remember better my phone number back when I was in like a teenager than I can remember my own kid's number, probably, you know, because you just push the number in the phone. So
yeah, I remember my best friend's phone number from like 3rd grade.
Yeah. The thing,
you know, but I can't remember Carrie's number
memory really
right now.
Yeah, I don't remember Brian's number. Yeah.
No, you know, something else I think you need to also just maybe have on you is, because, you know, you've got your phone, but what if something happens to your phone? What if you drop it? What if you break it? You know, have a card. Most of these accommodations, you're going to stay in a hotel or whatnot, will have a taxi cab card where, you know, if you need to get a cab, you can probably just hail one down. You could call one if you do have a cell phone, but have your address on the back of that card. So you can just hand that taxi cab driver that card. He can read that address. He knows where he's going. You're going to get there. I was thinking about that yesterday when I was like 4 miles away from where we're staying, and I'm still walking, and I got some 15-year-old behind me giving me the creeps. So I was thinking about this. I ended up making it on foot. Didn't have to get that cab. But make sure you know that address. You know where you're going to get to. Because I was across town.
Well, and I think it's even more so concerned for you because right now you've chosen not to get any kind of cell service, which isn't typically any issue because I have service on my phone. But if we're not together and he's out and about and something were to happen, because I've thought about that. It's like, well, if one of us was out and rolled an ankle, can't get back.
Oh, I know.
We don't have a way to really contact each other.
I was being extremely careful. I felt very vulnerable.
Well, it might be a reason to go ahead and get some
I might have to buck
coverage.
up and get that $13 a month cell service that.
Yeah, but at least if you have some of that information, you're going to hopefully at least be able to get a taxi and get back home if you at least have the address on a card or something. So
I did have that.
Important.
I did have that.
Number 8 is to register with your country's like traveler program. So in the United States, it's called the STEP program. It's the, well, I'm going to read it for you. It's the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. We have always done this. I register as soon as we are leaving for our 3, 4, 5 month stretch. Put in all the countries we're going to be traveling to. They ask for the dates you're entering and exiting. So, you know, as long as you can be as close or as proximate to the right dates. And then from that point forward, we get notifications for wherever we are at currently by email and then also text sometimes.
Yeah.
And it will kind of, I think that depends on the level of concern if the text comes through. But it will just let you know anything that's going on. So for instance, we just got one 2 days ago here in Budapest for a demonstration that was going to be going on. It was just a political,
peaceful political.
Yeah, but they're having their elections, and it was expected to be over 50,000 people was what was expected. So it was a very large demonstration. So it's just really kind of nice to get those. You don't find yourself maybe walking into an uncomfortable situation, and you're also going to be notified if anything happens.
Well, even if you're walking down the street and 50,000 people walking at you, now if you're on this STEP program and you get the email beforehand, you know what's going on, you know. But we did use it though while we were in Turkey. We got notified several times.
Yeah.
That's when the unfortunate war broke out in Israel, and we were getting notified probably every day about things that were going on.
Yeah, and the other area where it is really helpful is that if you say something does happen, a natural disaster happens, they're going to know your whereabouts. They're going to know that you're still in that country. And so, you know, when something happens and they're like, how many American citizens are from this country or in there, they're going to know you're in there. And they're also going to then know, because part of the registration is letting them know your family connection. Right. So they do have somebody to contact and at least be in contact with if there is a problem. So
I think this is I think it's a great idea to do this, especially in the world we live in today. You need to be on this.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those for sure. Even if it's just, if you're just going on a vacation somewhere, because we just never know what the unexpected might be.
Okay, number 9, be cautious of what you're sharing online. On your social media platforms, don't give up too much information.
Right. I think this is a really important one. You know, there's so many times we are traveling and we're on vacation, and I would say this is probably really important if you're a solo traveler, female traveler. You know, when you sit there and you are posting your whereabouts, you're posting all of these pictures, you know, it's exciting, you want to share it, but people can see that, especially if you tag your location, they can see it. Right. They can then really check out your account and then say you've shared the information of, hey, look at this cool hotel I'm staying in, or, you know, I just ate at this restaurant. They can start to put those pieces together. It's really better to, I would say, just not hold off to share information, but definitely don't be sharing information about hotel. Don't be sharing, you know, obviously any information if you rented a car, what the car looks like or the license plate, any of that. Just be mindful.
I just think it's great when people take pictures of their food and they post those on Facebook.
Like every meal.
I love seeing people's
I don't mind some food, but not every meal.
Yeah. This is what I cooked for dinner tonight.
Yeah, so just be watchful. Maybe wait until you get home or you are exited out of that area before you start really sharing a lot of the information about your vacation and your travels. Just to be mindful of that somebody couldn't track you down, because if it's a bad guy, they're going to find you. Number 10 is be insured. This is an area where a lot of people are like, oh, I'll be fine. Maybe you're young. Maybe you think you're just really healthy. Chances are you are, but those unexpected things happen. You could get sick. You know, there could be a situation very minor, not a huge deal a lot of the time. You know, medical care outside of the United States is actually really affordable, but you're insuring yourself for the big situations, not the little ones.
Right. You don't want to break an ankle. You don't want to break your arm. You don't want to go zip lining in a place where they don't have any kind of regulations and get hurt. So you want to make sure you're well insured. And you know, we have a couple different insurances that we use. We feel like we're adequately insured for any occasion.
Yeah, and so mine is Safety Wing, which is just a travel insurance. It covers a lot of different things, but it's, you know, to me, it works perfect. I can set it up from the time we leave the States to the time that we are going back. It's super easy to start up and stop. Very affordable, totally based on your age. Unfortunately, as I get older, the price goes up, but if you're younger and you're one of those that's like, I don't need travel insurance because I'm healthy, it's going to cost you like $30 for a month. So I guess you really have to weigh and decide what kind of risk factor you want to take. I just feel it's worth doing. And then you carry a global plan.
I carry a global plan, that covers me wherever I go, including the United States. I pay a bit more for that coverage in the United States, but I think it's worth it. It's Cigna Global, but you can pick any global plan. There's several of them. I went with that one just because, I don't know, I like the plan. And I was done researching insurance plans, but I've been happy with it. Fortunately, I've never had to actually go to a hospital with any major injury. But yeah, I feel secure with it. So that's something else that I think is very important to do as well.
Yeah, I think that insurance is really key, because we know people that have been caught outside of the United States with some major medical issues from surgery or some other things that have been going on. And, you know, those bills, the minor stuff is inexpensive in other countries, but none of us want to be hit with that big bill.
No,
so
I know of somebody that she fell off a double-decker bus in England, broke her arm, and waited to get back to the States before she got taken care of because she didn't have coverage.
Don't want to do that.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
That's risk of like long-term damage.
Yeah,
you
that's
can't
for
do
that.
Yeah, just be insured. Now, the number 11 in our last one is a VPN. Have a VPN. I know that we say this on multiple of our videos, and we just can't emphasize it enough. This is a safety factor. If you do not have one, your IP address is just visible to whoever, and you're in Airbnbs, hotels, airports, buses, you're just all over the place, and your information is just kind of hanging out there. So I think that's just a huge thing, and it's so affordable.
It's so affordable. Now, I don't know how they do it, but they do it all the time. Protect yourself online. Make sure you have a VPN.
Yeah, and you know, when we say affordable, I just want to put that out there for people. We're talking, because we do the 2-year at a time plan, we only pay about $3 and something a month. So it's really, really affordable. So, you know, and that's for all of our devices.
Right.
And we have like 6 different devices on it. So
It's just, it's an extra layer of protection.
Yep. Well, we hope that you found all of these things kind of helpful, and going forward when you're traveling, maybe you'll be able to put some of them in place and feel a little bit safer in your travels. Now, if you would like to find us on other social networks, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and our website, as well as on YouTube, and that is all at Brian and Carrie. And our website is brianandcarrietravels.com. So we will catch you next time. Cheers.